Welcome back, guys. In this video I'm going to bring you a very special video. I'm going to talk about the 3 best price action entries. Now this is not going to be any type of video where someone just tries to sell you on an entry and tell you that the best. No, this is a tested and a proven 3 best entries, and 3 good entries, I would say, when trading price action to catch moves such as this. And if you open most YouTube channels who are saying follow this best strategy or follow this, they're actually going to just teach you the strategy without actually showing you that it's profitable. But these 3 entry techniques have been back tested through many iterations, and just as an example, here is basically a lot of iterations back tested on the strategy, and you can see I've averaged, not because these numbers here are based on different time frames here, but I've averaged out for you guys on basically setup number 1, setup number 2, and setup number 3, and these setups are coming in at 75%, 82 and 76% win rates, which in forex is considered a very good win rate and a very high probability, especially for such a simple setup. Now this is not the end all be all of all setups, but these are some very important setups that will help you. And I want to put this in one video because I do get a lot of questions. Hey, can you help me with entries? So I'm making a video based on entries in trading forex. So with that being said, let's get straight into the video. As always, guys, can you please help the YouTube algorithm and leave a like and subscribe? It helps get this video out to more people so that they're not watching flip your account strategy and blowing their account, because this is proven methods. These are methods that are back tested, and these are entries that I have used myself, and I do use myself. And as I said, these are just 3 entries because I want to make the 3 strongest entries, or the 3 very good simple entries that will help you in your trading. Now you might not find them every single session, but these entries are really going to help your trading. So if you could leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, please check out the content, and I hope you can benefit from it. Down below is some groups, and what I'm actually going to do for you guys is, again, this channel is designed to really help people trading. Every single setup that I draw on the screen here, I'm going to take a screenshot and I'm going to put that in a document, and that document is going to be posted in my Discord channel. So Discord channel is free, you can join and you can check out that document so you can look back on it. Now I know I'm going to get a lot of questions asking, oh, what about this this backtesting Excel sheet that you have, or Google sheet that you have? Yes, I also have that in my Discord for free, so feel free to join and you can use that. So that being said, I'll also leave my Instagram. I am starting to post more there, so you guys can check me out on there, and you can join the free Telegram if you wish to do so. But with that being said, we need to get into setup number 1. So setup number 1, these are all based on price action trading. So if you guys are new and you don't know what price action trading is, I highly advise you to watch my full price action guide. I'll probably link it up somewhere here. Or you need to understand that this is a trend trading strategy. So this is not counter trend. We are looking to trade with the trend. And if you don't know how to identify a trend, you should not be watching how to enter a trade, because one of the most important things is finding out what is the trend, right? So I can guide you to my 4-step trading strategy video, and if you follow that, that should help you. But I want to make this video and show you guys what are the 3 very strong entries in forex trading. So number 1 is, of course, we're going to need to have trend on our side here. Trend is very important, and you need to be following the trend. So for this example, we will be using a bullish trend because I prefer to draw candles towards the upside. So let's go to a clean here. So market is going up here, so we need to understand that. And setup number 1 we're actually going to look at is going to be a simple closure above a range. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to get my drawing tools out here, and we're going to normally pre-session. So you want to be taking these trades and times of volume. If you don't know times of volume, you can search. It's pre-London, London, pre-New York, New York, and sometimes Asian. These are the times London close, but I'm going to recommend you take these type of setups either pre-London or London open, or you take them at New York or pre-New York. So what we're going to do is, if we're on a bullish trend here and pre-session here, we've been pushing up here, something like this, and pre-session we've decided to create a range here. So we pull back now, like so, we pull back, and now we come back up here. All right, so here's the example. So we've created a range. Remember, what is the trend direction? Well, you have to remember the trend direction is actually going to be bullish here, right? So we'll actually change that color to make it clear, maybe make it purple here. So trend direction is bullish, right? So we're bullish trend, And now what we're looking for is, since we're bullish trend pre-session, we have created what is known as a support and a resistance here. Very, very simply made. And you guys should know what that is. Now, if we want to continue this trend, if we're going up, we should be making higher highs and higher lows, right? That's what an uptrend is, right? So uptrends make higher highs and higher lows. So if this is a low, we expect, if the trend is going to continue, we expect highs to be made. So a simple setup that we have here is we actually have the opportunity with time of volume for price to close above this resistance here. So, and if I keep looking up at my screen, it's because I have another monitor here and I have my drawing tool. So don't think it's something weird, but here we have a resistance here, we have a support here. Now we're not looking for sells below the support, but what we'll be looking for is we'll be looking for buys above this zone here. So once we get this candle closure above this zone, it's very, very simple setup here. And what ends up happening is we actually get a candle closure above here, and we can look to enter and keep our stops below the previous candle. Oops. And we can target the next resistance. So wherever your resistance is, let's say we had a resistance up here, that would be your target. And you'd look for the next candle to open up and do something like this, right? So you would look for the next candle to come along. You'd look for it to make a bottom wick here, something like that. And boom, drive up towards your take profit. And that would be the plan here, right? So that's what the trade would look like, and that's what you would want to take here. So this is the very easy setup. Number one, you need to have trend in your direction, wait for a range, and when it closes above a range, you look for the entry. And this is going to be a very basic setup here. Now a lot of people are going to say, oh, what if we reject here because we're closing above the range? Now this is very, 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 very important, guys. I can't express how important this is. And the key part to the setup is, on this bullish trend here, you need to have on the left hand side, okay, you need to have on this side of the chart, you need to have clean candles. You need to have candles that look like this, right? You need to have candles on the left. So I'm going to draw this and then skip a bit. So when you take this trade on the left hand side, you need to have an LTA. It's very, very, very important here to have an LTA. So I'm going to mark that out as an LTA here. Where's my drawing? Here it is. So you need to have a LTA on the left hand side, and LTA stands for low traffic area, or stands for just clean candles. You need to have an area that doesn't have resistance. If it has resistance, if it looks like this on here, price can reject at any point. But if it's a clean move, we should be able to get a clean move and avoid a fake out, right? So the most times you're going to get a fake out is if we have a lot of wicks here. So if these zones have a lot of wicks, you might get a fake out back into the range, and you need to make sure that this LTA is very recent. If it's an LTA from 6 days in the past, it's not really going to be a good option, and this is going to be the most high risk setup because you're expecting price to continue. So with that being said, if this is the most high risk setup because you expect price to make a new high, what is going to be a better way to enter? So I'm going to show you that in the next setup. All right, so setup number 2 is going to be very, very similar here. We're going to have a bullish trend, and price is going to be trending up here. Now, what's going to be very important is that we're going to look for price to make a support. So if price is trending and we're seeing candles start to push up like this, right? So if we're seeing candles on the chart start to become bullish and they're pushing up like this, you can't just keep taking trades because you don't know when the next candle is going to reject. But if we start to see something form like this on the charts, where we start to get a pullback here and price starts pulling back like this, we're like, okay, fine, good. Now what we need to look is we need to look for some support to form. So if we start seeing price pull back to a zone, let's say back here we have a support zone that we know that price came back to. So we see something like this, and this is going to give you more confidence here. So let's say prices pull back to this support zone. So this is going to be our support zone, and we see something like this. So this next candle drives down here and leaves a rejection wick from our exact zone, and the next candle ends up closing bullish here. If you see this candle closing bullish here, respecting these lows, right? Respecting the lows, what you can end up doing is taking a position based on this at the break of the highs. Break of the highs, candle below these lows here, that it was respected this zone, and your target is going to be the high here like this. This is going to be your target. Now I drew this not to scale, so it's not 1-to-1, but you get what I mean, right? So I should have drew this bigger, but it's not drawn one to one. So this is going to be your target, and your entry is going to be here, and your stops are going to go below here. So what you expect here is you have a support here that we're rejecting. Price made a high, came back down, rejected a previous support, and created support. This candle here is going to be very, very important. Now, before I said, I forgot to say this information, and I'm probably going to cut this part and put it in the first part, somewhere in the first part. But before I tell you about the rest of the trades, these trades are going to work the best on the 15, 30 minute and 1 hour. So if you average them all together, those were roughly the percentages. But I would recommend, if you're a beginner, to practice these on the 30 minutes, and when you get more advanced, you can start moving down to the 15, and you can, you know, try to improve your trading that ways. But these are going to be the 3 simplest entries and very effective entries for you guys in trading. So once we create a support here, following trend. Now all these setups works for sell as well, right? So sell, if we get a closure below the range, that's also a sell, you know, and if we get resistance formed, that can also be a sell. So I'll show you examples of all 3 at the end of this video. But for now, let me just continue showing you this. So when we have a support here, what we can expect is we can expect the next candle to wick down, of course, here, and drive up towards your TP, right? And that is going to be this simple setup, and your target's going to be here. You don't need an LTA on the left because the chart has formed a low traffic area and is forming support. So you can take this and take the trade towards the top of the range here, and yeah, it's a very, very effective method, and it's used a lot in price action, and it's a good one if you're coming away from the zones, and is very, very effective. Now let's move on to the last setup. So the last setup is going to be very similar to the first setup, and it's going to be a mix of kind of all the setups. And this setup is a very, very effective setup, but we don't always get it on the charts because you have to wait for it. But if you do see it, it is a very effective one. And now what's this going to be is when you get a closure above the range. Now you have to understand that we need price to be trending. We need price to close above the range and start to move. We need it to be in an LTA. We need price to be in an area where price can move, right? So please check out my LTA video if you don't know what I'm talking about. Otherwise this won't help. But what we need to happen is once we get a closure and we see price start to push up like this, what can end up happening is we can get a small candle like this. Let's see if we get this drawings, and here we can get a small candle like this. And then what we have is we have a candle that does something like that. And what you can end up doing is you can end up taking the trade once we see a bottom wick and breaking this high. So a more impulsive entry here. And once we break this high, we can take the trade towards the upside. 15-30 minute, it will work. Now what does this trade mean? Well, basically all this is on lower time frames, and I teach this in other videos here, is on lower time frames. What we're basically seeing here is we're seeing price break out of the zone, pull back, create some support, which is in that candle, and continue. And you're taking the continuation, breaking the high to continue price, right? So that is what this is. It's creating support above your zone, and this is a very high probability setup. So with this setup, what you're going to do is your entry is going to be when you break the high. Very simple, following trend, breaking the high here, and that's how your entry will look to be, breaking the high. And this can happen anytime. It doesn't necessarily have to happen once you break out the range. Price can be trending and you need to wait for a pullback, but once you see a pullback, you see this, and your target is going to be the next resistance. Very important, always target the next resistance, right? So it's always going to be important, target the next resistance. Make sure you have your zones marked out properly so that you're not just taking these at random time, because most people, they fail and they'll get a fake out when they are not targeting the right zones, right? So when you understand where you are in the market, you'll understand where most likely there will be a fake out, right? So this is another very effective setup here, and this can happen just when price is trending, even if we minus all of this. So I'll screenshot this quickly. So even if price is doing something like this, where we are just trending like this, right? So we've trended from a support and we're just going up, you can still enter. Once we see this in the chart, this will give you an opportunity to enter instead of entering on a random candle and getting a big drawdown candle where it stops you out. So these are very, very effective. And again, stops below this candle here, very important where to keep stops, not below this current candle, below the previous candle, because if you know, that if it's breaking this candle and continuing down, you know that this becomes a resistance here and price is going to continue down bearish. What's very important here is you need to take these setups in times of volumes. Why do you need to take these setups in times of volume? Otherwise, this will end up being a resistance. So make sure you're taking this when the market's pushing hard and you need an option to get in. So this is a very simple video which covered 3 very effective setups in a very simple way, and this is my goal of this video, was to give you guys basically the 3 simplest forms of entering. Now you'll need to practice this, you'll need to backtest this to get to understand why it makes sense, but these are the basis of the ideas. To wrap up this video, I'm going to clear all these drawings and we're going to go try find 3 examples raw without me knowing what's on the chart of basically what I just explained. So obvious example number 1 is the closure above the range. This was pre-session. Well, what did we have? We had a range here. Price closed below the range. So then we take a short position. Boom, candle stop loss above that. And you continue the move down. That's setup number 1, remember? So setup number 2 was finding price at a support. So if we go back and switch to a bullish trend here, we can see this is setup number 2. Price pull back to this support here. So if I draw this support back here, you can see this is a whole support zone, and even if I just draw a line on top of this like this, you can see it pull back into this zone here, created a support here on the 15-minute, long position here where candles below there, and your target is going to be here. So that's an easy 1-to-1, and that's the trade. Now let's go see if we can find setup number 3. So we're going to need a time of volume, and what do you know, when we are pushing in the market, we have 2 chances here. Here's a nice example, this one here, breaking the high, boom, like this, candle below here, above the range, continuing to the next resistance, because we closed above here. So if we look at where's our next resistance, it will be somewhere back there. But you can see how that trade plays out. You'd probably just catch this candle, to be honest, and that would be enough. So that's 3 examples very quickly on the chart. And you can see how powerful price action is because you're following what the candles do, and these things happen a lot. With that being said, I hope this video helps. Take care, trade sharp, and until next time, peace.